For 36 years, the hammers never stopped ringing. Day and night. No plans. No architects. No rest. 160-room mansion. Staircases that end at the ceiling. Doors that open onto empty space. Hallways that lead nowhere. When she died in 1922, she left behind more questions than answers. Was she mad? Fleeing from ghosts? Or were we the ones who never understood her vision? This is the true story behind one of the strangest houses ever built, and the extraordinary woman the world chose to forget. In the heart of Silicon Valley, in San Jose, California, there is a monument to obsession. Or to genius. It depends on who you ask. The Winchester Mystery House has received over 12 million visitors since it opened in 1923. Tours that promise ghosts, mystery, and impossible architecture. But there's something they don't tell you on those tours. The story you've heard about this house is probably a lie. The woman who built it wasn't the deranged widow they portray her as. She was something far more interesting. Sarah Lockwood Winchester was one of the wealthiest, most educated, and most innovative women of her time. And what he did here defied all the conventions of Victorian society. Today we're going to separate myth from reality. We're going to meet the real Sarah Winchester. And we're going to ask ourselves, what if the truth were more fascinating than the legend? Because this story has three versions. The one told by tour guides, the one told in historical documents, and what those who spend the night there experience. September 1st, 1839. New Haven, Connecticut. Sarah Lockwood Pardee was born into a home that, by the standards of the time, was revolutionary. Her family supported abolitionism, free thought, and women's education. And Sarah absorbed all of that like a sponge. While most women of her time were barely learning to read, Sarah was fluent in 4 languages. She studied advanced mathematics. She composed music. She excelled in science. She was barely 1.47 meters tall. She weighed 43 kilos. But her mind was titanic. She was known as one of New Haven's great beauties. Not just for her looks, but for her intelligence. In an era where that could be more of a curse. On September 30th, 1862, in the midst of the Civil War, Sarah married William Wirt Winchester, heir to the Winchester rifle fortune. Those rifles. The ones who won the West. The ones they called the gun that fired 1,000 times. The ones who led to both American expansion and, well, everything that came with it. For 4 years, Sarah and William were happy. Sarah gives birth to a girl, Annie Pardee Winchester. 6 weeks later, on July 25th, the baby died of marasmus. Severe malnutrition. Sarah will have more children. William adores her. They have time, money, everything ahead of them. But Annie will be the only one. 15 years after losing her daughter, Sarah loses William. Tuberculosis. He is 43 years old. Sarah is left alone. Completely alone. But not poor. He inherited $20 million. In 1881. That's equivalent to more than $500 million today. She inherits 50% of the shares of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, making her one of the richest women in the world. He receives an income of $1,000 a day. Every day. Without working. And this is where legend says everything changed. According to popular history, Sarah was devastated. Consumed by guilt. Winchester rifles had killed thousands. Native Americans. Soldiers. Outlaws. What if all those spirits were haunting her? What if they blamed her? Legend has it that Sarah visited a medium in Boston. A woman named Adam Coons. And in that seance, William's spirit supposedly gave him instructions, go west. Build a house for the spirits. And as long as you keep building, you will not die. It's a perfect story, isn't it? Tragic. Gothic. Chilling. There's just one problem. There is not a single piece of evidence that this happened. None. Not at all. 1884 to 1886, Sarah Winchester arrives in California. Not as a woman running from ghosts, but as a rich, independent, 45-year-old woman who has just inherited a fortune and can do whatever she pleases. San Jose wasn't Silicon Valley yet. It was the Garden of the Valley. Perfect climate, fertile land, clean air, ideal for someone with health problems. And Sarah had health problems. Rheumatoid arthritis that would only worsen with age. He buys a plot of land measuring 65 hectares, with a dilapidated 8-room house. And then, he begins to build. No master plans. No architects. Sarah designs directly with the carpenters. He hires 22 permanent workers. Skilled carpenters. He pays them well. Very well for the time. And they work. And they work. And they work. Day after day. Year after year. The house grows like a living organism. It expands. The twists. It becomes more complicated. Sarah is there every day. Supervising. Designing. Changing her mind. Adding. Modifying. What exactly is he building? Stairs that end at the ceiling. Literally. You climb 13 steps and bam. Ceiling. Doors that open onto walls. You open them and there's a wall. Or a cabinet 3 centimeters deep. Windows on the floor. You step on the glass that overlooks the room below. A door that leads to a drop of 4.5 meters. Straight to the garden shrubs. Is he building a ghost trap? A labyrinth to confuse spirits? Or, is there another explanation? The mansion grows. For 1900, the house is a marvel. Not only because of its strangeness, but also because of its technology. It has complete indoor plumbing. In 1900, when most houses had outdoor latrines, 3 elevators, working, hot water shower, with adjustable temperature, central heating, throughout the house, its own gas plant, its own water tower, stained glass windows made by Tiffany, imported exotic woods, silver and gold inlays. This isn't the house of a crazy woman. It's the house of a woman who knows exactly what she wants and has the money to get it. But there's something else. Something Sarah isn't planning for. April 18, 1906. 5:12 in the morning. San Francisco trembles. Magnitude 7.8. 16 times more powerful than the 1868 earthquake. The ground cracks. Buildings collapse. San Francisco burns. 60 kilometers to the south, in San Jose, the Winchester mansion shakes like a rag doll. The 7-story tower is collapsing. The chimneys explode. 47 chimneys. Most collapse. An entire wing of the house simply disintegrates. Sarah is inside, sleeping in Daisy's bedroom, a room in the center of the house. The walls shake. The ceiling creaks. A door gets stuck. She is trapped for hours. When she is finally rescued, Sarah emerges unharmed. Physically. But something changes. The mansion is wrecked. Thousands of dollars in damages. The tower, its pride, destroyed. What does Sarah do? He orders the rubble to be removed. And he practically stops. It doesn't rebuild the tower. It doesn't repair most of the damage. According to records, Sarah has spent most of her last 2 decades at her other property. In Atherton. Not in San Jose. Show image of the property in Atherton. Construction continues, but at a much slower pace. Because? Did the earthquake break the spell? Or was Sarah simply tired? Everything hurts. And it has been building for 20 years. Maybe it was simply over. The last few years. Sarah becomes more reclusive. Not out of superstition. Because of physical pain. The arthritis is so severe that he needs help to move around. The house's special staircase, the one with low steps that people say he built to confuse ghosts. She built them because she couldn't climb normal stairs. September 5, 1922. Sarah Winchester dies in her sleep. Congestive heart failure. She is 82 years old. She lived 40 years longer than her husband. 20 years longer than her daughter would have lived. And he has created something absolutely unique. When Sarah dies, She doesn't leave the house to anyone in particular. His will divides his fortune among family members and, interestingly enough, all his employees are beneficiaries. Every gardener, every domestic worker, every person who worked for her. That's not what a crazy woman does. The house is going to auction. It's selling for $135,000. A bargain considering what it cost to build. John and Mamie Brown bought it. And 9 months later, on June 30th, 1923, they opened it to the public. As a tourist attraction. And this is where the real mystery begins. The new owners need to sell tickets. They need a story. And the story of rich woman builds weird house isn't sexy enough. But a maddened widow flees from vengeful ghosts. Now yes. It is said that Harry Houdini visited the house in 1924. He was fascinated by the design. And he supposedly suggested the name Winchester Mystery House. Mystery sells. But the true myth was not consolidated until 1967. Susie Smith publishes Prominent American Ghosts. And there it is, the complete story. The medium. The curse. The ongoing construction to evade death. Everything. There's just one problem. Smith never cites primary sources. There's no evidence that any of it happened. But the story sticks. It multiplies. It becomes truth. Let's fast forward to 2010. Mary Jo Ignafo, a historian at the University of San Francisco, publishes the first complete biography of Sarah Winchester based on actual research. He goes to the archives. He reads Sarah's correspondence, the foreman's diaries, photo albums, financial records, and he finds something fascinating. Sarah Winchester was not superstitious. There is no evidence of seances in the house. The so-called blue session room was the gardener's bedroom. The employees who knew her, who spent every day with her, said she was a normal woman. Intelligent, generous, private, yes, but not crazy. What really happened? Ignafo discovered that Sarah regularly halted construction. He had correspondence to prove it. His financial priorities weren't spending money on the mansion. It was investing it. She donated $2 million to a hospital in New Haven that treated tuberculosis, the disease that killed her husband. He donated money to earthquake victims, to charitable causes. He employed dozens of workers for 36 years, paying them well. Her motivation? Possibly very simple. Her father had struggled financially. She saw what unemployment did to families. So he decided that as long as he had money, he would keep as many qualified people working as he could. And while he was at it, he would build the house of his dreams. This is where it gets interesting. Because debunking the Sarah Winchester myth doesn't mean that nothing strange happens in that house. Thousands of people have reported similar experiences. And not all of them are easily influenced tourists. Employees, guides, people who work there. A tour guide named Samantha, alone in the bedroom. She's about to begin her presentation for the tour when the sigh, unequivocal, from the dark hallway. He adjusts his eyes to the darkness and sees something. A small, dark shape, slipping around a corner. Sarah? Annie? Is it your imagination? An employee on a ladder, feeling maintenance, feels a hand on his shoulder. He turns around. Nobody. Moments later, he feels pressure on his back, as if someone were supporting him, protecting him from falling. And then there's Clyde. Multiple witnesses. Decades of reports. A man with black hair. Work clothes. Pushing a spectral wheelbarrow. Sometimes he is seen working on the fireplace in the Great Hall. As if I still had something to finish. 1990s. Christopher Chacon. Parapsychologist. Not those who shout and run. Those who bring instruments. Methodology. Statistics. 720 continuous hours of research. 30 days. Non-stop. 24-hour environmental monitoring. Sensors. Cameras. Scientific instruments. Interviews with 328 people. Half reported paranormal experiences. Half did not. Results: 1,440 total documented events. 2 per hour on average. Of those, 81% had rational explanations. Creaking wood, acoustic effects, pareidolia, confirmation bias. But that remaining 19%, 273 events that Chacon could not explain scientifically. What does that mean? Chacon is honest. He doesn't know. They could be natural anomalies we don't yet understand. Complex psychological phenomena. Or something else. What it does say is that it deserves more serious investigation. Skeptics have solid arguments. Pareidolia: our brain is programmed to see patterns. Faces in the shadows. Figures in the dark. Confirmation bias: you go to a haunted house expecting to see ghosts. Your brain interprets any creaking as paranormal. Actual architectural effects. The house has strange acoustics. The hallways act like sound amplifiers. There are sealed spaces dating back to the 1906 earthquake. Pockets of cold air that explain the cold spots. Windows and doors create unpredictable drafts. And then there's the commercial factor. The house needs to remain mysterious to sell tickets. The tour guides have a script that, quite literally, perpetuates the myths. One guide lamented, "I feel so torn because I have to lie to people. Every time I talk about the 13 and other crazy things, my heart breaks a little for Sarah." So, what is real? Here's what's truly sad about this story. Sarah Winchester was extraordinary. At a time when women could barely own property, she oversaw a 36-year construction project. No architects. Designing directly. Constantly innovating. He installed state-of-the-art technology when most homes did not have indoor plumbing. He employed and cared for dozens of workers for decades. He donated millions to charitable causes. And he was brilliant. For languages, music, mathematics, science. But Victorian society didn't know what to do with such a woman. Especially a rich, widowed, independent woman who didn't ask permission to do whatever she wanted. So they turned her into a spectacle. A crazy woman. A superstitious hermit. And when he died, they transformed his home, his masterpiece, his artistic expression, in a house of horrors. Today, the Winchester Mystery House is a National Historic Landmark since 1974. It receives thousands of visitors every year. It offers daytime tours, nighttime tours, paranormal investigations with a supposedly skeptical approach. And yes, people are still reporting strange experiences. Are they real? Are they suggestion? Are they something in between? Perhaps that's not the right question. Perhaps the real question is, why do we need Sarah Winchester to have been crazy? Why is the idea of an intelligent woman doing exactly what she wanted with her money and her life so uncomfortable to us that we had to invent a ghost story to explain it? Because if Sarah wasn't running from vengeful spirits, if he was simply building, experimenting, creating, living on his own terms, so the real mystery isn't the house. That's why it took us more than 80 years to see Sarah Winchester for who she really was. A visionary ahead of her time. The Winchester Mystery House is still there. Labyrinthine. Impossible. Fascinating. The stairs still end at the ceiling. The doors still open onto empty space. And at night, they say, footsteps can still be heard. Is it paranormal? Everyone draws their own conclusions. But what is undeniable is this. Sarah Winchester built something that no one had ever seen before, and that no one has replicated since. He employed artisans when he could have simply lived off his investments. He innovated technologically when he could have settled. She created beauty when the world only wanted her to be a respectable and quiet widow. And when she finally rested, the world decided it was easier to call her crazy than to understand her. Perhaps the real ghosts of the Winchester Mansion are not the spirits of those who died by Winchester rifles. Perhaps it's the ghost of a brilliant woman, waiting to finally see her for who she truly was. What do you think? Was Sarah Winchester running from ghosts, or building a legacy we don't yet understand? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if this story made you see the Winchester Mansion in a new light, like and subscribe. Because there are more cases like this. Stories we thought we knew, until we dug a little deeper. See you in the next mystery.